3-second rule. 3-second rule. I got it. 3-second rule. Wait, that's not the 3-second rule. That's the 5-second rule. I could have dropped this longer and still eaten it just fine. I'm not gonna, but I could have. But the 3-second rule for authors is different. It's not the same 3-second rule as if you drop some food on the ground in a pile of horse shit and then pick it up and eat it because it's just fine because it's only been 3 or 5 seconds. Don't eat horse shit off of food off the ground. Like, that shouldn't need to be said. If you don't know me already, I am Kate. I'm a little bit chaotic, and I am the author of over 30 books that I use to make money off of Amazon, and I've helped over 3,000 authors make a full-time living from their books using social media marketing as well. So first off, before we go into how to actually apply the 3-second rule, what actually is the 3-second rule with marketing? Fun fact, it's not just doing a thing and the 3 seconds content. It's not making content that's 3 seconds long. It is making content where the first 3 seconds hooks someone. In fact, with the rise of short form video and social media, you actually want to get somebody's attention and stop the scroll the instant they end up on your video. I don't know if you've seen that trend where it's like, I let my Gen Z intern edit my video, and then it's just a bunch of, you know, a bunch of that. I don't know if you see that trend, but that is something you want to avoid in your content. Not necessarily doing the trend as a joke. Like, do the trend as a joke. I don't care. I don't give a The important thing is that when you start your video, you cannot have you taking a breath at the beginning and then talking. Even if you have the perfect hook, the most perfect, amazing hook in the world, that pause at the beginning can absolutely ruin your retention because people want you to be getting straight to the point immediately. So that 3 seconds is what we call the hook. It is what you hook people on with, like you're catching a fish on a hook. Or if you think that fishing is wrong and immoral, like you're catching a boot or a tire on a hook in a river. Listen, I can get down with veganism or whatever, but I can't fix the world, sorry. But what you're hooking is the people, that hook that has that juicy, juicy bait on it. That delicious, delicious bait that will catch all of the fishes or boots or tires. And that is the first 3 seconds. That's the 3-second rule, is having something juicy that catches attention. And the best way to do this is to create a curiosity gap, which is where you get people's attention with something, but you leave them curious about how it's going to play out. And usually I say it like this: curiosity gap. Do you think I should apply to be on like the X Factor or something? Or like that one where they turn around in the chairs? Is that? No, that's not the X Factor. What one is that? I don't know. And by the way, if you want to learn exactly how I do all of this and go into like extreme detail that I can't go into on YouTube because it would take too long for one video, and I'm really just like, I need to get your attention and give you education, but if you need help with more intricate details, make sure to check out the link in the description. Otherwise, let's move on. So let's talk about actually creating a curiosity gap with your hook for your video. This is a pretty simple process, honestly. I have a specific formula that I have been using since 2023 that has consistently worked to hook people on my content, and it's so basic, and it's just... No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to leave you hanging. It is the when main character archetype plus conflict. That's it. Usually I write romance books, so it'll be like when the billionaire fiance of yours, or when your enemy billionaire fiance, and then conflict. So when your billionaire fiance that you hate buys you dinner on your birthday because he's the only one who remembered, or when your billionaire best friend forgets your birthday because that guy. This is a hook and creates a curiosity gap because it leaves people wondering, why did he forget her birthday? Or why is he the only person who remembered her birthday, or whatever it is? They are wondering how that's going to play out. They want to know how this billionaire demon rock star is going to redeem himself after abandoning her and after she stabs him in the heart. God, I wish I hadn't had to delay that book. I love it so much and I want to market it so bad. So people want to know how that's going to play out. That's why the first 3 seconds is the most important part of any piece of content, no matter what your niche is. I don't care if you're like, well, Kate, I'm actually not posting about books, but I'm watching this book talk video to find out how to post about my horses because I notice you have a lot of toy horses over on your shelf and you love them, so I want to know how to post about my horses. You still need that curiosity gap. And you want to make sure that that curiosity gap, even if it is spoken out loud, is also written out in text on the screen, because the algorithms on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Pinterest, on, I don't know, what was the Google Circle thing that happened like 10 years ago that nobody ended up using? But the algorithm can read text on the screen, even if you're making your posts in something like Canva, or if you're making your posts in Photoshop or Adobe Premiere. The algorithm can still read the words on the screen, and that helps them place your content in front of the right audience. Oh no, Kate, are you telling me I have to find good scenes to market my book? Yes, like, like, what else do I tell you? This is what my whole channel is always about. I'm sorry if you're new here and this is your first impression of me, but this is what I'm like now. But yes, you have to pull good scenes, because the way you're gonna connect that curiosity gap, to the rest of your book, is by including the scene from the book. You are literally going to put the scene from the book. And no, I don't mean you're gonna put a 2,000 word chapter in there, because I'm not crazy. You're gonna put like 300 words of the scene in there. That's not even a full chapter for most people. Most people, a full chapter is at least 1,000 words. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a lot more, unless you're me, because I write like medium shorter length chapters and medium shorter length books, because I can't write long. Meanwhile, one of my friends over here is like, yeah, I'm about halfway through and I had to split my original outline into 2 separate books, and I'm at like 80,000 words for the first part. And so if I had written this as one book, as I had planned, it would have been a 200,000 word book. And I'm like, how? Teach me your ways. But that's not what this is about. So basically, we're gonna take the romance juice. Not like that. You're disgusting. Stop thinking that. The romance juice is the juiciest part of the scene. The thing that makes people feel things. And that's going to be something emotional. And it doesn't have to be your main character crying for it to be emotional, right? Your main character can be totally calm and fine, but guess what? Her husband just forgot her birthday and was hanging out with his secretary instead, who happens to be his ex. And guess what? While that might make you very angry to think about, and you might be like, that man is cheating. In romance, most men don't cheat. Cheating is actually like a thing that is almost never allowed. There's some cheating in romance, but never in anything I write, never in anything a lot of people write. That's a whole side thing. But what this actually elicits, and the reason it makes people angry and makes them go on the side of our main character immediately, is that it taps into heavy, heavy insecurity and self-consciousness. That's right. We're squeezing the self-conscious juice out of these readers. I really gotta find a better way to word that. But what I do is I then split up that 300 or so words. I take out anything unnecessary, anything we don't need to know about the book, like the guy's name. Who needs to know a man's name, am I right? Or things about like backstory or other parts of the book. I just want the things that are necessary to understand the scene, and so I'm gonna take out the person's name and find other ways to change that. And I might include the archetype throughout that instead of his name, so that TikTok is like, oh my god, your book is about a billionaire marriage of convenience because you say your billionaire fake husband like 6 times in this script. That's how TikTok talks. And then I just make it a photo slideshow. I make it a photo slideshow that people can go through at their own pace, and then I post it on TikTok. But I don't just post it once and say, this better go viral or it's garbage. I'm gonna post that scene like 20-ish times per month so that I can see if it's actually performing. And then after that first month is gonna be when I reevaluate if the scene belongs. Unless on like all 8 of my accounts, that scene gets like less than 100 views, then I'm like, well, that scene, I used a different background image and everything. That scene's gotta go away. And that's why I'm gonna get rid of that scene. And I don't even get rid of it from the book. I simply get rid of it from my marketing strategy, because I know TikTok's gonna suppress it, so why waste my time getting it set up and getting it posted when I could be posting scenes that I know actually convert into sales. If you want to learn more to make sure that your scenes and your posts convert into sales, make sure to check out the link in the description.